This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN, but more on that later. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Samuel with Cedar Pine Designs, and in today's video I will be working on this French Provincial set that is actually part of a 6-piece bedroom set. Two of the pieces are different, but I am finishing them to resemble the rest of the set. So let's jump straight into this one and start removing all the drawers, numbering all of those like I normally do, so that way I can put all of them back into their slots that they go into. And then I use my blower to clean all of the dust, dirt, and debris out of these things. I've gotten a few comments talking about how TSP degreaser is really not very friendly for you to be breathing in and using with no gloves. So I am switching to water diluted with a little bit of Dawn dish soap. It seems to be doing an amazing job. It doesn't really leave any residue behind, so I'm gonna probably be using that moving forward. Then I move on to sanding the tops with 150 grit sandpaper, because I'm going to sand these down to bare wood and keep the tops in a natural color. But the problem I was having with this dresser is that it was really hard to remove the finish, and I didn't want to try using a chemical stripper because it does get messy and I have a lot of pieces to work on. So I switched over to 80 grit sandpaper and I knocked it down to where I got most of the finish off. And then I switched over to a 150 grit, and then I followed it up by 220 grit. So as you can see, I'm using 150 grit just to get rid of the rest of the finish. And then I'm going to come back with a 220 grit sandpaper and smooth everything out and get rid of all those pigtails. So I am working through all the grits starting at 80 and ending at 220. I am using the pencil method. It is where you use your pencil to mark the entire top of the work surface so that you have a reference to look at and make sure that you don't miss any spots. Now that all the sanding is taken care of, the only thing that we are left with now is a raw, natural, very nice raw wood. And I am doing the same thing to this dresser. It is a tall dresser, it is 5 drawers, and this is another dresser that is part of this set. Do you like to watch Netflix but find yourself running out of shows to watch and you can't seem to find anything to fill your time? Well, lucky for you, ExpressVPN allows you to search up to 94 different countries so that you can watch any of their shows from the comfort of your own home, and it's easy as just scrolling through and picking a country so that you can find a show you want. Your internet service provider can see all of your internet history, and nobody wants that. The way that ExpressVPN can help combat that issue is by running all of your network traffic through its secure and encrypted servers. ExpressVPN has you covered with 24-hour around-the-clock customer support and live chats, meaning all your questions will be answered within seconds and not hours. You can fire up the app and connect with just one click, making it super user-friendly, and have peace of mind knowing that they only invest in premium servers that make them consistently faster than other VPN providers out there. To get ExpressVPN, use the link provided below and you will get your first 3 months absolutely free. So the natural color of this wood is very nice. It has a blonde look to it, but I really want to give it a more washed out look. So I'm using this whitewash by Varathane. It's a wood stain, and this is a very good product for beginners who want to try whitewashing a project for the first time and they don't want to mess around with trying to find the right consistency with mixing paint and water together. So I highly recommend this product. Another thing I really like about this product is that it does have a 1-hour dry time, making it super easy for you to go in and top coat this if you're in a hurry, or like me, I like to pump some of these projects out. Now it's time to address these pools. One thing that I did notice is that they were upside down. They just did not look right to me when I first seen the dresser. You can tell that they weren't on there right. So I'm going to remove those and I'm going to give these drawers a really good cleaning because I'm going to be painting them. And I want to get those drawer handles put back on in the right order. So like I said earlier in the video, I am working on a lot of pieces. So this process, I'm going to try to make it short and sweet for everybody, removing these drawer handles because they're, if I can remember correctly, 6 pieces, but there was about 18 drawers, and multiple drawers have multiple handles, and it was just a lot of handles to be taken off. So I did go ahead and get some baggies for this project to separate everything, just so that everything goes back where it goes and I don't get any of the screws mixed up. I was surprised at the condition of these dressers. Typically there's a lot of damage and a lot of stuff like this that you see right here, and thankfully this was the only drawer that had any kind of repairs that needed to be done. I just added some glue, and then I didn't have a clamp long enough to clamp it down, so I just set something really heavy on top of it and just let it dry overnight. So now that the top has had some time to dry, it is time for me to seal this, and I opted to use a polyurethane, water-based, and a satin finish on this because I want it to be nice and durable. Another thing I like about using bare wood on the top opposed to painting it is that it'll stand up to a lot of damage over time, and it just gives it a lot more protection than just using paint. And it's one of the questions that I get asked sometimes in the comments: why do I do these two-tone types of looks with a wood top and then the rest? It's mostly for aesthetics, but also durability. In a typical situation, I wouldn't be sealing these tops first. I would normally stain, mask them off, and then paint the dressers. But because I'm using an enamel-based paint that doesn't need a top coat, I can seal these up now, saving me a lot of time and a lot of work later. I'm going over all of these tops with 400 grit sandpaper in between each coat, and I'm going to apply 3 coats of that water-based polyurethane. A lot of people ask why I sand in between each coat, and I'm not really sanding per se. I'm using a high grit sandpaper just to knock down the dust nibs. And when you use a sprayer, the first coat or two typically come out a little rougher because it doesn't go on as thick as like rolling paint or using a paintbrush. So sanding is a very necessary step that you do not want to skip. When I say that taping and masking off all of these drawers took a long time, that is not an understatement. This process is the fastest process that I've found so far. I have seen people use the plastic with tape on like a little rolling machine, but I find that it's just a little too cumbersome to work fast enough for myself. So this is how I do it. I would just wrap it with paper, use some tape to secure it, and then tape the entire edge off so that way I can get a nice crisp line. Just real quick, while I have your attention, I would really like to thank everybody for stopping by and watching my videos. I do notice a lot of the same people in my comments, and I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch my content and lend me all of the kind words that everybody leaves in the comments, and I am very grateful for all of that. One of the things that I love the most about taping the tops off and keeping them a natural wood is that I get to do the satisfying task of cutting all the tape off of these edges and making a nice crisp line. It's just something about when you get that nice pull and you are just consistently making a long cut. It is just very satisfying to me. Now that the top is covered up and it's pretty much good to go, all that's left is to hand sand all of the detailed areas, and actually I'm probably just going to hand sand everything using 150 grit sandpaper just to create a nice rough surface for the paint to have something very durable to bond to. If I can share one tip with you about scuff sanding, it would be that be very diligent with it and get all of the edges, because if you miss any of those spots, the paint is not going to stick very well, and when you go to sand for your next coat, you're going to be pulling a lot of paint off. Even though I'm scuff sanding all of these pieces because there are so many and so many drawers, this process took a good day in itself, but it is all worth it because you really want that paint to stick. I'm using some natural wood filler because the drawer pulls were on upside down and they did leave some indentions, and if I flip them back around the right way, those indents are definitely going to show. So this is the paint that I've been using for a while, and I find that it's a really good paint. It is called Cabinet Coat, and it is enamel based acrylic, and this stuff only needs about 3 coats and you are good to go. No top coat needed. Very durable. I actually painted some of the cabinets in my workshop with this paint and it is holding up great. I get a lot of questions about the ratio of paint to water that I use, and typically in these cups that I use, they are about 32 ounces, I believe. I like to do like 90% paint and 10% water, and almost every single time I eyeball it, and from doing it for so long, I can tell from the consistency when I'm using my stir stick to mix it up that it's gonna work. Some other questions that I get is what kind of spray gun I use, and I don't know the name of the brand. It is in the description below. I don't know it off the top of my head, but this thing is from Amazon, and one thing that I was looking for in a spray gun was obviously something that's very affordable, which this comes in at around $40, and it does come with a pressure regulator as well. But another thing is, I don't have a very large compressor, and a lot of times people don't talk about this, but you have to check the CPM and PSI on the gun and on your air compressor. Now this gun is rated for somewhere around 6 or 7 CPM, and my air compressor is at about 5.5, and so far this thing has worked amazing with no issues. The only thing that I can recommend is that you just keep it nice and clean, and clean it every time you are done using it, and don't let stuff dry up in there because you're gonna have a really tough time cleaning that thing out, and you'll have to disassemble it all the way down. Now for the paint, I follow the same rules as the top coat because you don't want to gouge this stuff and leave a bunch of scratches because it will show through the paint. I use a 400 grit sandpaper, and I do bare minimum 3 coats, and if I see any kind of touch up that I have to do, I will just throw a 4th coat on it. Now that the paint is all done, now you will get a really good idea of how many handles that I had to actually work with. I tried to polish a few out that you just seen me lay down right there, but they did start to turn a copper color because these were brass plated, I think, and I didn't want to mess with them too much, so I'm going to create my own patina look by spraying these with a brushed bronze metallic paint that gives it a really nice, almost black, but then kind of like dark gray with some metallic flakes in there. And I'm going to patina those using some Gilder's wax. Now with the Gilder's wax, all you want to do is just get a little bit either on your finger or a brush, a rag, whatever you want to use, and just lightly touch the top surface of these, not letting it kind of go all the way in, and that's going to create a patinaed look, giving you that goldish bronze look without just painting them solid gold. I didn't want to paint them solid gold because it looks a little cheaper to me, so giving them these patinaed look really helps with that aesthetic. Now that all the drawer handles are taken care of, I'm removing that masking paper to reveal that really nice finished whitewash top, and it does leave some paint behind because of the trimming with the razor knife, and you could easily get rid of that with a 400 grit piece of sandpaper. I like to fold mine up, giving me less surface area to scratch with that, and I just kind of work that edge off really lightly, and it creates a really nice crisp line. And you're going to want to do it to the whole edge. For me, at least, that's what I've found, because if you just do sections, you can kind of tell where you did it and where you didn't. So I kind of just go around that whole edge and crisp that line up. This has to be one of my favorite parts, is adding all the handles back to the drawers for a couple of reasons. One, I am done. This is the last step. This is the last thing there is to do. And two, I get to finally see how this entire project is going to turn out, and I get to see what all of my hard work has turned out to be. So let's go ahead and throw those drawers back into this dresser so we can take a look at how this thing turned out. It could just be me being biased because I did the work, but I really love the way that these pieces turned out. I know people love that wood look, but this green is absolutely gorgeous. And now it is time for a breakdown of this project. So there are 6 pieces in total, and I was commissioned by a client of mine to redo this entire set. So there is no initial investment in that. I paid about $50 for the paint, and in total about $30 for consumables, as I have a lot of this stuff in stock already. So that's about $80 invested. I charged $1,600 to redo all of these pieces, leaving me with $1,520 in profit. And if you break that down over the 15 hours that it took me to complete this project, that's $101 an hour. I am super happy with the rate of return on that, and I feel like it is well spent time. And I'd like to thank everybody for watching my videos and supporting me through my journey. I really appreciate it, and I cannot wait to see you guys on the next project and just enjoy these couple of more pictures of these beautiful dressers.